The sky was quiet. No Jedi soared through it. No prophecy echoed beneath it. No ancient order stood guard in its shadow. It was just stars. Cold, distant, uncaring. And beneath them, people lived, people died. People rebelled. They had no sabers to light the dark. No force to guide their steps. Only trembling hands and tired hearts and voices that cracked before they carried. But they carried anyway. Through boots on gravel. Through sirens in alleys. Through whispers that turned into screams. The Empire did not fall to a chosen one. It cracked because of choice. Because someone stood up when silence was safer. Because a prisoner ran when staying still meant surviving. Because a mother's voice refused to be forgotten. Because the weak found each other and decided they were strong. No temples burned. No Sith were slain. No balance was restored by fate. Just cells filled with fire. Streets lined with sorrow. And souls too stubborn to give up. They were not legends. Not myths. Not heroes sculpted by destiny. They were names we almost never knew. And that is why they matter. There was no destiny here. Only defiance. Only grit. Only revolution carved from ash and silence. And still, it felt more like Star Wars than most stories that came before it. Because the heart of this galaxy was never the Force. It was the people who fought beneath it. In this video, we dive into the world of Andor. A world without Jedi, without lightsabers, without chosen ones. And we discover how that absence, that brutal silence, gave birth to one of the most powerful stories Star Wars has ever told. We explore the pain, the purpose, the power of rebellion without magic, and why maybe the galaxy never needed the Jedi at all. What if Star Wars was never about the Force? What if it was about the people who lived beneath it, who bled in the shadows of its myth, who never touched a lightsaber, yet still carried the weight of destiny? What if the most powerful stories were not about chosen ones, but about forgotten ones who chose anyway? Andor dares to ask that question. It strips away the legends, the sabers, the temples, and reveals something raw, something real. It shows us a galaxy where survival is the only magic, where belief is earned not through miracles, but through scars. For decades we were told that the Jedi were the light, the hope, the guardians of peace. But what if they were never enough? What if the most important battles were fought by those left behind? The smugglers, the spies, the sisters of dead worlds. Cassian Andor is no Jedi. He does not meditate. He does not glow. He runs. He lies. He kills. But in that darkness, he finds something holy, something honest. A rebellion not built on destiny, but on desperation. And still, it moves us. Still it feels like Star Wars, maybe more than ever. Because when the lights go out, when the temples fall, it is not the Force that saves us. It is people, ordinary, broken, rising. The Jedi always claimed wisdom, yet they watched the Senate rot from within. They held their blades high, but closed their eyes to suffering. They spoke of peace. While leading armies, they were symbols of light, built on blind faith. Andor burns that illusion to the ground. It shows us a galaxy without myth, without mysticism, and it is not weaker for it. It is stronger, sharper, filled with fire that cannot be ignored. It is a story of people doing what the Jedi never could. The Jedi meditated while people starved. They preached detachment while families were ripped apart. They waited for prophecies. While empires rose, Andor gives us no prophecy. Only prison bars, only boots in mud, only fists clenched behind trembling lips. We are tired of waiting for chosen ones, tired of destiny excusing inaction, tired of temples that crumble and return again. Andor gives us no temples, no saviors, only choices. Ugly, brutal, human. And that honesty, that raw nerve exposed, cuts deeper than any lightsaber ever could. It reminds us that Star Wars should not be a sermon. It should be a scream. There is a grief in watching a galaxy fall. A quiet mourning in every alley, every eye. Every whispered name scrawled on a wall. The Empire does not destroy with fire alone. It erases. It silences. It forgets. And in that silence, people disappear. Andor makes you feel every loss. Every small death that history overlooks. A mother who stands in defiance. A friend who never comes home. A sentence that ends too soon. The pain is not poetic. It is personal. There are no heroic last stands here. Only slow suffocation. Only choices that scar. Only victories that taste like ash. Every revolution costs more than it promises. Every spark leaves something burned. We do not get robed heroes leaping through the sky. We get children hiding behind stone walls. Lovers speaking through prison glass. Brothers betraying brothers. Because the cost of survival is soul deep. And through that sorrow, through that relentless ache, Andor becomes something sacred. Not because it uplifts, but because it refuses to lie. Andor is a masterpiece of restraint. It whispers where others shout. It lingers where others race. It builds tension not with power, but with presence. Every scene hums with weight, with danger, with meaning carved from nothing. The absence of Jedi is not a void, it is a canvas. And that canvas fills with characters who breathe, who ache, who bleed real. Mon Mothma behind a smile, Luthen cloaked in sacrifice, Kino screaming with a voice that cracks mountains. We see courage, not in battles, but in decisions. We see rebellion not in banners, but in glances, in secrets, in sparks that catch when no one is watching. The show is not loud, but it is thunder. It does not dazzle. It devastates. And in that devastation, it reveals something forgotten. That the soul of Star Wars was never just in the Force. It was in the fight. And when you strip everything away, the robes, the prophecies, the legends, you are left with a pulse, steady, beating, human. What makes Andor unforgettable is not the darkness, but what flickers inside it. In a world where everything is controlled, where freedom is a myth, there are still those who rise. Not for glory, but for each other. Not to be remembered, but because they cannot stay silent. The rebellion is not a wave. It is a whisper that spreads. It is people waking up, not all at once, but one by one. It is a mother's funeral that turns into a riot. A prisoner's chant that tears open steel. A merchant risking everything to speak a single truth. It is a daughter learning her voice. A senator risking her family. A soldier choosing meaning over orders. These are not Jedi. These are not icons. These are people with flaws, with fears, with fire in their throats, and nowhere left to run. It shows us that revolutions begin not with miracles, but with moments. Small, painful, powerful. They begin with hands held, with eyes opened, with souls that refuse to stay chained. It reminds us that anyone can matter. That bravery is not born, it is chosen, again and again. Andor does not promise victory, it promises resistance. It offers no peace, only purpose. But that purpose burns brighter than any lightsaber. It lights the way for the stories that come next. Because the spark is not myth, it is real, it is rising, and it begins with you. The truth is, Andor proves something Star Wars was never ready to admit, that the Jedi are not the only ones who can carry the galaxy, that the Force is not the only thing that matters, that the most powerful stories are sometimes told in shadows. With no prophecies, no sabers, just sacrifice. Cassian Andor did not need a glowing blade. He needed conviction. He needed pain. He needed others. He needed a reason to keep going when nothing made sense, and he found it. Not in a temple, but in a cell. Not from a master, but from a prisoner, from a martyr, from a mother who stood when no one else would. And in showing us his fight, his fall, his rise, Andor shattered the myth that only the gifted can save us. It reminded us that history belongs to the forgotten, to the flawed, to the ones who crawl before they run, to those who do not ask for greatness, but choose it in silence. The Jedi will always have a place in the galaxy, but maybe they are not the heart of it. Maybe the real power lies with those who were never chosen, but chose anyway. Maybe the rebellion was never about balance, but about belief. Belief in people, in change, in a spark that refuses to die.